Hello and welcome back to my FPL channel. I am Fpl Gw24 and today you are here for double game week 24. First double game week of the season, transfer tips. We will not be talking about purely Everton and Liverpool players, even though this is probably the week to bring them in. So if you're here for that, check out my video from yesterday. I cover all that stuff and brilliant stuff in an ultimate guide there, which hopefully will set you up for this game week where potentially you'll be playing your triple captain and maybe your assistant manager chip if you are a really brave person and want to play it straight off the bat. But look, we are closing in on 500. That is the aim by the end of the week. So please, half the people that watch these videos are not subscribed. If you could just do us a favor, log in, subscribe. That'd be awesome. It'd be much appreciated. And then share it with your friends as well if they are FPL players as well. Make sure you smash a like on the video. And without further ado, let's get into the transfer tips for game week 24. Now, Everton players and Liverpool players, you probably want to bring them in this week if you're going to bring them in. At the moment, I have my triple up on Liverpool all set and locked. I had it for last week, and look, it didn't really go the way I anticipated last week when they conceded in the 90th minute, but it went very close to being very good last week, and I'm hoping that the double up on the Liverpool defence continues and hopefully gets me some sort of reward over the next 2 game weeks as well, with the double up obviously this week. Everton players, I'm still unsure of whether I'm going to make a transfer there. If I do, it will be Mikalenko that comes into my defence, probably in the place of Anthony Robinson, but we'll get into that in a little bit later on. But if you really want to take a risk on him, go ahead. But sometimes it's like that in that trap. I remember when Watford had the Emmanuel Dennis and someone else, I can't remember, was it Pedro? It might have been, I can't remember. And one of them got injured before the first game, and then the other one got like literally nothing. So like sometimes a double game week looks good on paper, doesn't always work out that way. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes it's better to target players with the better fixtures moving forward. Now, Bournemouth players, they are a team to target, and you should be looking to move to at least 2 of their players by the start of game week 25, before the game week 25 deadline. I wouldn't be buying them this week. If you can hold off, you want to dodge the Liverpool game and then bring him in for that Southampton fixture. That is the fixture to target. Bournemouth are on an absolute tear. They haven't lost, I think, since game week 12 or 13 when they lost back-to-back games against Brighton and whoever the hell else it was. I can't remember who. But they have been unbelievably good. So it was Brighton and Brentford, I think. So look, with that being said, if you want to go early, you can. I have weighted up doing in my team this week, but I feel like the money I'm going to free up into potentially bringing in Mikalenko means I don't have to go on a Bournemouth player this week. And it gives me another week to figure out whether I really want to go there or not as well. So, can you ignore Man City and Tottenham assets for the foreseeable future? Yes, you can. Man City are in a really difficult fixture run for the next 3 or 4 weeks. I've got Phil Foden. He is a problem in my team, and potentially he might be a problem in yours. But at the moment, he's still returning. And his underlying data is actually really good. So if Man City is still going to be scoring goals, Phil Foden's still probably going to be scoring, which means maybe he isn't a priority sell. It just depends on what you want, really. But do you want to be wasting a transfer on taking him out and then bringing him back in? It's one of them weird ones. In terms of Tottenham players, they can't be trusted. They are an unbelievably bad football club. They're an unbelievably bad football team. Sorry, any Tottenham fans. The writing's on the wall. Ange needs to go. You need to sell your team. Levi needs to go. Yeah, they all need to go, really. Brentford fixtures now. They have become really good. I obviously have Wissa on my team last week, and I have been weighing up whether I want to get Bryan and Mbuemo, but how I do it and whether I do it this week or not, and what I expect to see against Tottenham. Obviously, the new manager bounces are in effect. David Moyes obviously has been doing pretty good things there, beating Brighton and then obviously beating Tottenham as well. So that's 2 wins on the bounce for him, and maybe that's somewhere we want to play the assistant managership. Not for me, but it is a factor. And obviously, Graham Potter's been a bit more speckled, but he did get a decent result away against Villa on last week. So, look, maybe that's somewhere you want to go as well. I just think we want to see Jared Bowen back firing for them before we start moving for any of the assets particularly. So, expensive defenders outside of Trent have really not been worth the asking point, but last week they did deliver. The Arsenal defenders all delivered a clean sheet. And a couple of them got a couple of bonus points as well. Raya obviously got 3 and Gabriel, I think, got 1. So, look, and Salah's obviously back earlier than a lot of people anticipated as well. However, they do have Man City this week. So, if you've got them, I'd probably be benching them. I'd be holding them the next couple of weeks afterwards that look really good for Arsenal assets, particularly in the defence. So, I wouldn't be rushing to sell them unless you were trying to maximise your third Liverpool player. I would not be selling them for an Everton asset. Let me just put it that way. straight off the bat, they are not worth an Everton asset. As I said, Tottenham assets are just a joke. Ditto the Manchester clubs. I mean, Man United have been playing boring football, but I still think that they're actually a pretty decent team to invest in between now and 29. And we're going to do a little bit of a comparison again about Bruno Fernandes versus Bryan and Mbuemo. Now, Bruno Fernandes actually has better underlying attacking data by 0.01 expected goal involvement when you combine assists and expected goals together. And that is with him dropping half the time playing in that midfield role deeper in the team. So I wouldn't say that Bryan and Mbuemo is that much better, to be honest with you. And I think comparably, we're going to have a look at the fixtures a little bit later on. But comparatively, the fixtures for Man United and Brentford the next 6 weeks, up until game week 30, where a lot of people are going to be wildcarding, they're both playing in game week 29, and Man United have the Leicester away fixture in 29. So I'm not sure. I just think that people will probably... If you're doing the Bruno to Mbuemo transfer, I don't like it. I don't think it's worth a transfer. I think they're literally the same player. You're going to get about the same amount of returns from the two of them combined. There's other players that we could talk about, but for me, those two are definitely not moving on for me. In terms of which players need moving, well, anyone that is rotation risk, anyone that's got a hint of an injury. Chelsea are obviously in some bad form as well. Mounting injuries there, mounting injuries at Tottenham. These kind of things just have to be taken into account. You can't be affording to go for assets in a team where like the team is just crumbling around them. But I think Cole Palmer's definitely still a hold. If you want to know, we're going to have a look at, he's still in the top, one of the top transfer out players this week. I don't understand why. Don't know who people are selling him for. Like, honestly, who are you selling Cole Palmer for? If you're one of those people, whack it in the comments, because they've got West Ham at home on the weekend. I can't see anything but a decent looking Cole Palmer return this weekend. That's what I'll say about that. So yeah, let's have a look at what I'm expecting to be an interesting thing. So we're going to start with the top defenders and goalkeepers to buy in double game week 24. So my top buy in terms of the goalkeepers is probably Alisson Becker, because I just think long-term Liverpool defence is better than Everton defence. However, I could understand where you might want a Pickford instead of Alisson. I think this week it makes more sense to go with Alisson Becker. I just feel like Everton won't score against that Liverpool defence. Liverpool will 100% score against that Everton defence. I could be completely wrong, but I feel like potentially those are the ones we want. And look, Alisson Becker after this week's obviously got the Wolves fixture at home, looks really good, whereas Jordan Pickford's got Crystal Palace away. That doesn't look as good. Then they've got Man United at home, not so good, but then Alisson Becker has Man City away. So the next three are pretty comparable, and it's going to cost you 0.4, but obviously ties you up in terms of, that Liverpool defence. In terms of the defenders, if you don't own Trent, this is the week to buy him. I mean, there's going to be a lot of attacking returns up until when Liverpool potentially might blank in game week 29. He is going to cost you a fair bit though at 7.3 million, but I just like him. Kanate obviously is the cheaper option, 5.2. Van Dijk doesn't make this list because as far as I'm concerned, Kanate and Van Dijk are the same kind of player, and one cost you 6.4, which is Van Dijk, and Kanate only cost you 5.2. Likely to be 5.3 by the time the deadline rolls around. So if you are hot, that is probably the transfer I'll be looking at. He's been rested, so is Van Dijk, so is Trent from the travelling Liverpool squad, so that's also something to keep in mind there. Robertson and Tomiskas are both playing, so that's also an interesting thing. Well, they're in the squad anyway that's travelled in preparation for this video. Mikalenko is probably the third best defender to buy this week, which is why I'm thinking about personally bringing him in myself. He's going to cost you 4.4 billion. They've got Leicester at home, which you would think potentially there's a fairly good potential of a clean sheet. I mean, Jamie Vardy and Leicester are probably eyeing up this fixture really well, which is why I'm like so torn about, do I just bring him in or just leave my team? Like, is there a better option for me? I'm just not, I don't really know is the honest answer. I don't know if Everton players are worth the risk. But look, he's third as a bring-in this week. Fourth is Kirkes. Now, I wouldn't be bringing him in this week. I'd be rolling the transfer because if you're bringing him in to play him this week, it's not a good week to play him. But if you're transferring in preparation for what lies ahead, Southampton away, Wolves at home the next two fixtures afterwards, hey, it's just a brilliant move. And I love having him in my team. And I just think that most other people probably should. Bournemouth are just such a good football team this year. A bit like Forrest have been. I just really like him. Munoz comes in at number 5. They've got Man United away. However, he probably still will have some attacking potential. He will be going down the side where Martinez is, and I dare say he's going to outpace him, which is ironic because Martinez is the one that comes in at number 6 this week for me. 4.8. I just really like the fixtures afterwards. Like Everton at home, Fulham away, like decent run of fixtures still for Crystal Palace. They are potentially going to blank in game week 29. So the longer you leave this kind of a transfer, the less appealing it becomes because it means he's going to have to either transfer him out or whatever. So that for me is a slight problem. And then obviously we've got Martinez. Now, Martinez has scored twice in his last 3 Premier League starts. Man United, I think, realistically may not keep a clean sheet against Tottenham. I can foresee a clean sheet against Palace this weekend, and I could definitely see one against Everton away. So for me, that is something, I think he's the Man United defender that I think probably has the most goal threat. So that's why I've gone with him. I just think he's an interesting option. Realistically, I don't think you should be buying him, but he would be the 6th best defender for me to target this particular week. Now, in terms of the midfielders and forwards, now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Like trying to work out, and look, I've literally got them side by side. This week, if you're after a midfielder that's on penalties, it's going to be delivering your points, has a decent fixture and decent fixtures over the coming weeks, it's definitely Bryan and Mbuemo number 1. 100% it's Bryan and Mbuemo number 1. 7.8 million, probably going to be 7.9 by the time the deadline rolls around. Tottenham at home, West Ham United away, Leicester away the next 3 weeks. I mean, like 2 of those really good fixtures are away from home. I just think Brentford are in such a good run of form. They're going to be fine. They create so many chances. They're just brilliant to buy. Yeah, I just think he's probably the top midfielder buy this week. Bruno Fernandes, I've actually got at number 2. Now, people will sit there and go, are you actually mad? No, I'm not. Like, the underlying data for Bruno is way above these other midfielders that are in there. He's actually higher than Bryan and Mbuemo by just, as I said, 0.01. Crystal Palace at home, decent fixture. Tottenham away, definitely a decent fixture. And then Everton away, probably another decent fixture. I just can't see a world where Bruno Fernandes is not a good pick in my team. So for me, he's definitely someone I am definitely interested in. Slobberslai, he comes in at number 3, 6.3 million. He's not going to break the budget, and he's an excellent way of getting into the Liverpool attack for the double game week. And look, I actually think he's less of a minutes risk than Luis Diaz, which is why Luis Diaz is nowhere on this list. I just think that man is highly likely to start one of the games on the bench, or he'll come off after 60 minutes, or maybe even just before 60 minutes, depending on how quickly he walks off the pitch. Eze comes in at number 4. I don't actually mind the Man United fixture. I think that's fine. Everton at home looks good. Fulham away also looks good. He's their chief creator. He's definitely better than Sarr. I said this weeks ago. He's now risen in price to 6.7. Sarr, meanwhile, is going the other way. So look, that call has definitely been vindicated, and I think moving forward that's going to continue to be the case. Justin Kluivert comes in here at number 5. Now, they've got Liverpool this week. Then they've got Everton away at the Cup. He's about to have a baby, probably, before the Southampton game. Read what you want, believe what you want. He's going to be great after this week. I think all the Bournemouth midfielders are going to be great. Dongu, however you say his name, he's the 5 million rated one. He would be number 7 on this list. I just have that's the way I've got them. I've got Kluivert, followed by Semenyo, followed by Dangu, or however you always say his name. They're all really good. After this week, Liverpool game at home, you don't really want to be playing him, which is why I'm potentially not going to be moving for him this week. But then it's Southampton away, the best entry point, followed by Wolves at home. How many goals are they going to score over those next 2 weeks after the Liverpool game? God only knows, but I can tell you it's going to be quite a few. Bournemouth are the highest shot volume team in the league as well. Just keep that in mind. Unbelievably good assets to own. You should definitely own one of their midfielders post this particular game week. In terms of the forwards, it does have to be Cody Gakpo number 1. Now, he is in the travelling squad, probably because he used to play for PSV Eindhoven. So you've got to hope that he doesn't get injured between now and the end of the Champions League game. But if he doesn't, he's a great transfer in. Double game week. Probably going to start both games. Probably will only start about between 60 and 70 minutes both games. But he does offer you an attacking return into the Liverpool attack outside of Mo Salah. So I really like him. In at number 2 is Wissa, the Tottenham game at home. How many goals are going to be in this? God only knows, but Wissa just looks like a fantastic buy. He's up there with Bryan and Mbuemo. I think you need one of the two of them in your team this week. I've got Whistler, so that's why I'm a little bit more reluctant to make a transfer to bring in Bryan and Mbuemo, because there's a couple of different alternatives to my team, which I want to kind of roll with. In at number 3, it is Mateta. I thought he was disappointing on the weekend against a Brentford team that do concede goals. He's definitely one that I'll be watching with keen interest against Man United when I watch my team on the weekend play against them. And at 7.4, he's getting towards the more expensive kind of side again. Very close back to his starting price of 7.5. Then we've got the bargain basements. Jamie Vardy, for me, is the best 5.4 mid forward that you can buy this week. He's better than Ndiaye. Ndiaye is not going to outscore Jamie Vardy in that Everton-Leicester game, I can tell you that much. Jamie Vardy, for me, I reckon is going to score against that Everton team, which is why I'm so loath to bring in any Everton players. I just feel like Leicester are going to see this as a massive chance to get a win. Then it's Arsenal at home, which is not fabulous, but then it's Brentford at home. And so I don't mind the Leicester run of fixtures outside of that Arsenal game. And moving a little bit further forward, it also doesn't look too bad as well. They've obviously got that Man United defence that concede goals as well in game week 29, which is something you need to keep in mind. And then it's Liam Delap. Now, Liam Delap's 5.6 million. In reality, this is really a 3-week play, if that. And it's only because of the fact they've got Southampton. And Southampton are one of the 2 teams to target. Like Ipswich are the other team. They're both playing each other. I just think that there is a lot of things that I really like about this particular week. So without further ado, we're going to look at the top transfers in for this particular game week. So we have the top transfers in. Cody Gapco leads the way. 594 transfers in so far, followed by Kluivert, who I've just talked about. Both really good options moving forward. Ndiaye, though, this dude is not a good option. I mean, he's got 2 goals in the last 2 weeks. His expected underlying data, though, is just horrible. 0.16, 0.05 for a combined 0.21 per 90. He's not a move for me. I don't like it. Pickford, I understand. I think he's he's one of the 2 real Everton assets I do recommend is Pickford and Mikalenko. I really do like the look of both of them. Alexander-Arnold, again, he's definitely the second best rated Liverpool asset to own outside of Mo Salah. Bryan Mbuemo, I understand as well that people are buying him. I just think, as I said, if you just have a look at the expected goal involvement and numbers at the bottom. 0.35 expected goals, 0.22 expected assists for 0.57. When you compare that to, let's have a look at, I'm just really going to quickly pull this out. Bruno Fernandes, if we have a look at him, 0.38 expected goals per 90, 0.2 expected assists per 90 for 0.58. I just really like him. I think they're both the same. And if you've got one, you're not transferring to the other and you're not bringing them back the other way. So like for me, that's just what I wouldn't be doing. I just think that there's not much between them. Mamouche, you got to see a bit more before you jump on the Man City bandwagon. And Man City's fixtures the next few weeks are pretty difficult. Mikalenko's really good transferring. Luis Diaz, I'm not sure why people are still even contemplating it. I just don't think, if you're selling Cole Palmer and this is the person you're buying, Cole Palmer will outscore him, I reckon, in that one game against West Ham. I just don't really rate what Luis Diaz has been putting up. And yeah, I think all you have to do is look back from game week 23 to game week 10, and there ain't many big scores in there. Like, there ain't many big scores in there. I'll just leave it at that. Kirkhead's great buy, but not for me this week. Isaac still being bought. Now, Phil Foden, lots of people still buying him. 8.5% he's up to now. But per 90 minutes, 0.32 expected goals, 0.33 expected assists. He's better than Bryan Mbuemo and Bruno Fernandes, and obviously he's not on penalties. So keep that in mind. This man continues to deliver. Will he deliver against Arsenal? Probably not. At the moment, I've got him starting on my bench. I am likely to hold him, though. But then the next 4 games, yes, they're difficult on paper, but 2 of them are at home. One's against the Spurs team, and one's against the Forest team that have shown that on their day they can concede goals. So, look, that's just something I would say on Phil Foden. Ahmad, lots of people buying him in for the Crystal Palace game. I can understand that. Jongo obviously is in here. Actually, surprisingly, Semenyo is not very high up on this list. Dongo is, probably because of that hat-trick, point chasing, etc., etc. Soboslai, good move. I'm surprised that Wissa is not higher up on this list. He's only got 64,000 transfers in for the week. That is probably because of the fact that most people are making their forward transfer on Cody Gakpo, and maybe that is what will happen after that. As you can see there, Alisson Becker is significantly less popular than Jordan Pickford this week in terms of bringing him in. So that is probably explaining the fact that lots of people are quite happy to roll with a double Liverpool attack rather than a double Liverpool defence. I don't mind it. I can understand it. Virgil van Dijk comes in further down again. And again, as I said, I'm surprised that Canade's had 94,000 transfers in. Virgil's had 43. I don't understand why people are spending up for Virgil when he's literally going to offer the same amount of thing. Obviously, Delap, a few people, 30-odd thousand targeting that fixture. Those are the ones I don't mind that. Now, in terms of the transfers out, now this is where it is a little bit more interesting, watching what people are getting rid of. So you can see the first three people here are just people basically selling for Cody Gakpo. That's where they're all coming from. Upgrades from João Pedro, upgrades from Raul, upgrades from Chris Wood. Now, the Chris Wood one, I'm not 100% sure it's the best move in order to get rid of him. I understand if you're just getting him in for Cody Gakpo, but I just think that the fixtures for Chris Wood are pretty comparable with Cody Gakpo the next 2 weeks, considering that Chris Wood's on penalties. And then, obviously, he plays in 29, Chris Wood. Cody Gakpo likely to blank. And then I think they've both got Man City, and they've both got Newcastle. So it's not like the fixtures are fairly even. Then after that, from 29 through to 37, Chris Wood has such an amazing run. I just don't know. I'm not sure about that one particular transfer. I understand Nicholas Jackson getting dumped and Cunha getting dumped. They all make sense in order for Cody Gakpo. Makes a lot of sense. Savinho obviously is going to be more of a minutes risk now with Mamouche into the team and straight in off the bat. Cole Palmer, 116,000 teams getting rid of him. God knows why. As I said, if you're one of those people, please let us know in the comments. Nicholas Jackson as well, getting transferred out in the bucket loads. I'm not surprised. He's down to 12.4% ownership. Wissa, this is an interesting one. Why are people selling Wissa? It's probably also for Cody Gakpo, but it makes no sense. They've got the Tottenham fixture at home. It looks really good. Lots of people still, I don't know, if you were selling Luis Diaz this week to getting Cody Gakpo and you're wasting 2 transfers, it is definitely not the correct move. It's something I would highly advise against. Lots of people selling Raya. I would just say on the Arsenal defence, it does get, like, the next 2 fixtures after the City at home game are pretty damn amazing. If you can, you hold for the next 3 and then potentially move on. Even lots of people selling Mateta after that week he's had. It's amazing how many people are point chasing this year. It's incredible. You're better off holding those transfers. There's going to be injuries. You want to save them for managers as well. I just wouldn't be making unnecessary transfers on, like, sideways trades. If it's even 69,000 people have got rid of Bryan and Mbuemo. So there you go. Some of these moves don't make a lot of sense. The Robinson and Pedro Porro ones out do make a lot of sense to me, though. I don't mind them getting out. And I also don't mind the Amad out transfer, particularly if you're buying one of the Bournemouth players. It's a very similar, like, it's a sideways transfer, but it makes a lot of sense longer term. But yeah, as I said, if we have a look at those fixtures really quickly. So the fixtures for Man United between now and 29, Crystal Palace, Spurs, Everton, Ipswich at home, Arsenal at home, which is probably arguably the only hard fixture they've got between now and when you would wildcard in game week 30. And then game week 29, they've got Leicester away. Yes, you definitely ditch them on wildcard if they're still not performing to the standard you want. But if you have a look at the Brentford fixtures, yes, the Brentford fixtures are probably slightly better. They've got no Arsenal at home game. They've also got Leicester away. But they haven't got Ipswich at home. They've got West Ham away, who I think is probably a greyish team away rather than a green. So that's just my personal opinion. I think they're very, very similar. They've obviously got Villa and Bournemouth as well in 28 and 29. Arguably more difficult teams than what Man United are playing as well. So, look, that's what I would say on that. Let me know in the comments if I'm barking up the wrong tree, if I'm correct or not. In terms of transfers for my own team, obviously the one transfer, 0.3. The move I am considering is either rolling and just benching Robinson this week, or it will be Robinson out and it will be Mikalenko in, which will leave me with 0.8 in the bank. Now, the reason why I think of doing this, rather than the other option would be to get rid of Amad for my 0.3 and bring in Kluivert, which also does look pretty good on paper. The only problem is I'm not going to be playing Kluivert this week, and then I would be playing Phil Foden away at Arsenal instead of playing Ahmad and Bruno Fernandes at home to Crystal Palace. So those are the two different moves I may make. I may just make none and then just do them next week. I'm not convinced on the Everton play at all, as you can tell. And obviously, I think Kluivert's a better option from next week. It's just a matter of whether his price rises or not, that I make the move this week or not. So look, that's where I am. If I don't do the Mykolenko one and I keep Robinson, that will be literally my team moving into next week. If hopefully Kluivert makes it through to the deadline without rising. If he does, then I'll probably be forced into the Mykolenko trade. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. That's been the D Unit. Tomorrow I'll be back with my team selection and you'll see if I pull out the triple captain on Mo Salah or not. Thanks for watching. That's been the D Unit.